could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. This is the way.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the last episode of Acolyte Aftershow discussion. We're going to be talking about the episode 8 season finale of the Acolyte. Like I said, like last week, I've had to leave it a couple of days. This week just family stuff that I couldn't get around. I just wasn't up to it, so I decided to hold off. But I've enlisted some help. I've listed a guide to help me talk through this and have a good discussion about Star Wars. We've got Brian, also known as the Metal Jedi. He's back.
What's up?
We're doing good, man. Doing good. I thought we'd just kick off and just sort of say, what were your thoughts of the Acolyte as a season as a whole?
All around, I liked it. The negativity around it, I've just completely tried to avoid. It's, it is what it is when it comes to that. I loved it. It's a different, it's different from what we've seen. We're delving into some other things, getting more into the Force, more into the, which is what draws me to Star Wars the most. So
yeah, I think even for myself, I think just the fact that it's another flavor of the Star Wars galaxy. We're getting a little bit of everything, and it's still early enough in the realm of Star Wars being heralded by Disney. Financially, it's still Lucasfilm. Everyone's got to remember that it's not just Disney calling the shots here. It's right. Lucasfilm's calling the shots. They're doing their best to continue George's legacy and build on that. No one's ever done it before. Like George has been the sole Star Wars guy. So it's always going to take a little bit of trial and error, I think, when you're starting a new project to sort of, in a new time era, much like the Acolyte, or a new sort of semi-sub-genre, like where you're sort of touching on, like Ahsoka sort of touched on a lot of sort of samurai themes. This one was sort of a murder mystery. Boba Fett was almost, a gangster sort of mob
exactly.
Sort of vibe. So it's trying to pick how these characters sort of fit into these different sub-genres of Star Wars. Star Wars has almost become its own genre. It's very inspired by a lot of these things, but it's almost become its own thing. So,
right.
I don't know. I like you. I enjoyed it. There was a few little hiccups along the way that I was kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like anything,
Yeah, it's not claiming that it was perfect by any regard, but
no,
was it an entertaining series? Absolutely. And we got some cool shit out of it, especially this finale. I think it was. We've spoken about it already, but for the whole purposes of this live discussion, I think it was pretty damn incredible that we're touching on something that I think we're just going to go straight into it and say Darth Plagueis. That's where we're heading here. That was probably the biggest takeaway from this series. Mine is, mine's in reach. Mine's in reach too. Yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah. I've got them. I didn't take them off my desk after I did the picture the day after the episode aired.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was sort of when you start saying 100 years before the fall of the Empire, they always sort of touted that. And it's like, the kind of you've got to touch on that. You've got to touch on, that's, it was a subtle little thing, but it's enough for you to just start broadening that imagination out. I think. What's happening? How's it going to unfold from here? Like, what is his sort of sole purpose at this point in time?
Yeah.
There's so much. So it's already inciting so much discussion and stuff. So I don't know. I think that's pretty exciting.
And hopefully it's a guarantee that we got a season 2 coming, because they can't leave us. They can't show us that little bit of Plagueis and be like, no, we're done.
Yeah. I even thought, it doesn't even need to be a season 2 of the Acolyte. It could be a new series that sort of picks up that story.
Yeah.
almost sort of the way Bad Batch sort of picked up after the Clone Wars.
Right.
All the characters from the Acolyte are sort of, well, they're gone, basically. There aren't any left.
I'll just say it, just give us a Plagueis series.
Yeah, like I can already see maybe a Vanessa Rose centered series, you know, dealing with what she had to deal with at the end of the episode. And, you know, we had the confirmation that Chimera, quote unquote, the stranger was her apprentice at one stage.
Yep.
So yeah, it's that in itself was quite an interesting little reveal. I think it was enough sort of hints from the past
Right.
few episodes before that to sort of say, yeah, maybe there's something going on here, and maybe she's privy to what's going on. But I don't know. This is a very different character to what we read in the books. But again, it's the same as, you know, Luke Skywalker going from Return of the Jedi to The Last Jedi. There's a lot in between that can happen to a character.
Right. Yeah, person. I mean, she's what, 100 and I haven't gotten through the High Republic stuff yet, but this is what, 100 something years in where she's at now from where they left her off.
So she's in a maybe 120.
Okay.
1 teens. I think at the time of the High Republic, she was sort of the start. She was sort of 15, 16 years old.
Right.
When she was knighted. And this is, I think, 100 years after that hyperspace disaster that they sort of touched on.
Right.
Episode 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, she'd be, you know, like, yeah, for all intents and purposes, early hundreds.
Right.
You know, looking pretty good for 120.
Yeah. And a lot can happen. I mean, people with the stuff with Luke, you know, people change, things happen, you know, I mean, snap of a finger, your life can change, and it can change your whole, you know, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody's character completely flip-flops.
Yeah. I mean, you look, 30 years on paper doesn't really sound like a lot, but when you know, think about your own life and our own human history, like 30 years ago, I was 6, you know, I was in first grade in school, and, you know, look what 30 years did to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can do that to anyone. And, you know, you pick up a 25-year-old, all of a sudden they're 55 years old, and they've had some experiences there. But,
yeah,
you know,
30 years ago, 16, you know, I've completely changed. My whole life is completely different from what I was then.
Yeah, even the last far out, so 3 years. 3 years life changes. It's just amazing how much it can change. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't get to rewatch the episode today, so I didn't take any notes. I got a little bit slack as the season went on in terms of my structure of doing these shows. Like, and it wasn't from lack of enjoyment or anything. It was just kind of just life just creeps in and gets in the way a bit. And
I'm with you on that.
So
this was the only series that they've put out that I haven't done a double watch throughout the week. I did on this one. I before I went to bed last night, I watched the last episode again. Kind of half-assed, but I was kind of doing one of these things.
Yeah. Probably
4 hours of sleep in 48 hours kind of kicked my ass. So
yeah, that'll do that. Yeah, probably episode 7 last week's was the only one that I didn't rewatch with intention. Just because, I don't know, I talked about it a fair bit last week. It kind of felt like a lot of retread.
Yeah,
in that episode, in the second sort of flashback. Like, it was cool to see some of that stuff, like with the Jedi's perspective, why they were on planet, you know, how they came across the witches, how they came across the girls. You know, it's sort of, when you watch that first episode from the other point of view, it almost seemed like the Jedi had a little bit of a sinister sort of plot there. There was something else going on.
Right.
But it really wasn't. It was just the way they acted on their instincts and their emotions rather than the Jedi code as it is. So to sort of see that from the other perspective was kind of cool, but it was, I don't know, it felt like a big retread, especially with the amount of momentum the present day stories had sort of taken up until that point.
Right. Yeah, my wife, my son and I watch them together every, Tuesday night, and my wife, not a Star Wars fan, and she's always out there with us, but she's usually doing something on her phone or whatever. And we were watching the episode. She goes, "Didn't we already see all this?" she kept saying, all this looks familiar. We watched this already. I'm like, no, this is from a different perspective, but there's still, even her not being a Star Wars fan and not paying attention, as she says, she was saying the same thing. It was kind of a weird,
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of waiting for a YouTuber just to, get the same shots and see which ones they used again.
Right.
Like, while there were some moments where they were shot, dramatically from different points of view, there was some that was like, they just sort of replayed the same scenes, and it wasn't like, you conjure up something in your memory, like maybe after a dozen watches or so, you can kind of go, oh no, this was sort of, the camera was over there, so it was shot from a different perspective. But some of it even seemed like it was from the same perspective.
Yeah.
Like they just sort
very
of
much
reused
so.
shots. I don't know. It's a little bit jarring, but I don't know. From the get go of episode 8, though, that's the one we're here to talk about. Osha's got the sick helmet on, the Cortosis helmet, and all of a sudden, Chimera is struck with the blackening of the eyes.
Yep.
And I think now we're aware that was Plagueis getting in his head potentially.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know. It's still very unclear. But for all the answers, everything wrapped up in this series, it did leave a lot of questions, which is still cool because it leaves you hungry for more. But yeah, I sort of had this idea about the helmet because it's meant to stop, mind control from getting in. It's like Magneto.
Yeah, I should say the same thing.
So Professor X can't get in his head, so sort of thing. But I wonder, wearing the helmet, whether it stops external, like from inside the helmet.
I didn't even think about that.
So when Osha's sort of delving into herself, is it amplified because she's no longer feeling anything from outside the helmet? It's all inside. So she's sort of becoming more in tune with her darkness there, I think. And that was, she had the vision of who she thought was her sister, Killer Soul. It ended up being her. Like, I like the Force vision thing, which always happens in Star Wars. Like, it's when you have a vision of the future and you try to stop that from coming true, you end up actually causing it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like Anakin did that numerous times. He had the vision of his mother and thought, I've got to go and save her, and he couldn't. And same with Padme. He tried to protect her from going through death in childbirth, and of course, he ended up causing that.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, she sort of went through the same thing, and it wasn't until the last minute that she was kind of like, "Oh, this is me that's doing it."
Yeah. Yeah. That whole thing was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know, the lightsaber duel between Soul and Chimera was pretty wild though.
I can't remember the guy's name that plays Chimera. He was a highlight, standout of the season. Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, he was fantastic. And just hearing about the amount of work that guy put in, like behind the scenes. Yeah. It's like, yeah, this guy's got some chops. Like, I hope I hope we get more of him, because I like to think, even with the reveal of him being a former Jedi, I was like, okay, so there is some more depth to this character as opposed to him just being an evil dude. Yeah. Like, so I think there's a lot more to get into with that character. Yeah, and he seems like that end shot when, he put his hand around Osha's hand. There's something different with him to other Darksiders. You got Malgus and you got it's been a while. The Twi'lek that is in Deceived. He ended up taking her out because she was his weakness, but it's a different, you can see that he actually cares about her. Yeah. There's something a little different from him than you see from a lot of other, They're not sort of hell bent. Like he himself, whether he's an apprentice to Plagueis, I'm still not 100% convinced. No, I'm trying to figure that out myself. Yeah, I thought Plagueis is keeping an eye on the situation, but I don't think. The more I think about it, the less I think that's the case. I think they're
both individuals doing their own thing. I feel like Chimera is, he's trying to find someone that's like him, so he's no longer feeling alone. Like he feels like, maybe an acolyte. I don't know. Maybe he is the apprentice and needs that, but maybe he's trying to follow the idea of the Sith, not necessarily acting as one. But yeah, he's definitely, especially when he was sort of really open to Osha on that episode where, she looked down at him. He had his clothes off. And she looked down. Like he basically laid everything out on the table, like, and it's not necessarily about tapping into the dark side. It's about tapping into more than just the light. I think that was kind of where it was going. There is dark side there. Like it's using those emotions, which the Jedi see as the dark side. But maybe he's trying to find that balance between the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know. I think with Osha, so he ends up with Osha at the end here. I don't know where their story is going to go from here. Like they're still the two that exist. They're two parts of one consciousness in two bodies, sort of thing. Which I interpret as they're not at their most powerful unless they're together.
Right.
So I feel like they've got to end up back together at some point.
Yeah. I thought that too. The whole thing was them together and splitting them up.
So I do think Plagueis is involved in their conception. Like I think that's again, there's so much potential story here to go into the future to sort of look into this relationship that the Plagueis manipulating the midichlorians to create life, how he come up with this thing. I don't know. There's so much to think about. And honestly, my brain is a little bit scattered at the moment. So not having taken notes, I'm kind of just winging it at the moment. So bear with me, folks.
That fight between Chimera and Soul was ridiculous. Just so good. I've been, with the whole thing with the Matrix with Carrie Ann Moss being in it. You picked up little things that they were taking some inspiration from the Matrix. That fight, we've never, I don't recall seeing the slowed down bullet time. For the fights and it was awesome. But the
I like the idea that, they're so centered in the Force that they have that ability to sort of leap back blind and slow their fall down. Like obviously it was slowed down in real time, but for them to sort of it's a Jedi trait, being able to see things before they happen. They have the ability to slow themselves down and brace for an impact. But and then the bleeding of the crystal, like that was super cool to see in live action. I know that's sort of I've sort of read through a lot of criticisms, and I'm like, who cares? It was cool.
Yeah, when I sent you that message about the two things, that was the other one. That seeing that was just, seeing it live in live action, seeing it actually happen. The way, because we've read about it, we've seen it in the comics with Vader when. He got his crystal, or took the lightsaber from Invala, but actually seeing how it actually happens and seeing the blue go to red was fantastic.
I sort of, a lot of people have sort of said, Vader actually, it took a lot out of Vader to actually bleed out a crystal, and I think, but how much of him was still hanging on to Anakin? There was still a lot of Anakin there that wasn't. He was still very, very unbalanced. He hadn't truly committed to the dark side. He had, from the perspective of his physical being, but I think in the living Force there was still a little bit of Anakin there. Up until the very end. It was so
there was always that battle.
And Kylo Ren, they showed him sort of bleeding his crystal, and because he was so unstable, and he was trying to aggressively become an acolyte to the dark side. it was so unstable that he actually cracked the crystal, which caused the blade to feel messed up like it was.
Right.
So this one to see, and the way I sort of interpret it with Osha is, as she's sort of killing Soul, that's almost that the commitment of committing murder there in that moment is almost enough. It made me think of Voldemort from Harry Potter. You know, how he creates his Horcruxes by committing murder.
Right.
You know, by taking a soul, he is then able to put his, you know, soul into a Horcrux sort of thing. So I can't, not that she was doing that same thing, but, you know, committing that crime of murder, that, you know, taking a life was truly, you know, pushing her to the dark side and being able to bleed that crystal out.
Right. Well, she, you know, I don't know if it has much to do, but, you know, whether his intentions were bad or not, he lied to her from the minute he, you know, he held things. I don't want to say he lied. He held things. He was trying to protect her. You know, being a parent, there's things that you do, you know, and he did take on, he did take on kind of a, you know, he said as he was dying, he was trying to say he loved her. And he was trying to take on a parental role. He was trying to protect her, right or wrong. You know, there are times where you withhold things from your kids that you don't want to, you may not necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
You know, but you're trying to protect them. So right or wrong, he was, you know, he thought what he was doing was right, but to her, it was, her whole life was a lie.
Yeah.
And the anger,
Obi-Wan lied to Luke.
Yeah.
You know, it was a certain point of view. He didn't think Luke was ready to face that, so he didn't tell him. He just said, you know, he gave him the truth in a roundabout way, and, you know, I guess sort of Soul live with that too. Like the way the group of 4 Jedi sort of, you know, continued on living with the truth in their own perspective. You know,
right?
They sort of almost had to believe their own lies. Just, you know, Torben felt the guilt. You know, so he was probably the most troubled.
Yep.
Kel Naka, obviously, he hid himself away to try and he was sort of studying the witches, so he was kind of like trying to work out, you know, maybe how to stop that again, or, you know, how it happened, how he was able to let that sort of impact his mind. And then, you know, we didn't get a lot of you know, space around Indara in the first episode. She was just sort of there hanging out in that cantina before she got killed by May. So we didn't really get that. They were all, obviously they're all separated. They're all doing their own thing. So they've also had to split up, but Sol was able to take on another apprentice. He lived on as a, you know, a pretty good Jedi in the temple, but and then the dude got hauled over the coals at the end of it for that's, I thought that was a bit rough.
Oh yeah. One of the characters that you grow to, you know, through, I mean, he was pretty predominant through the whole season, and he very much a Qui-Gon-ish persona. You know, and then I kind of expected it, just because, you know, with the whole nobody can really know. They can't leave anything, you know,
exactly.
Going back to the Ki-Adi-Mundi thing, where the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years. You know, none of the other Jedi should know about it, to go along with that. You know, all the arguments about Ki-Adi-Mundi being there, ridiculous. But from his perspective, everything had to have been hidden from the rest of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, let alone, you know, the Senate, which at this point is sort of really starting to sort of lean overhead. Like the politics is really starting to come over the Jedi and sort of lean over and sort of say, you know, what are you guys doing? We need to know if there's stuff happening within your organization. The galactic government needs to be aware of it. It's you know, it's all power. It's you know, knowledge is power. It's, you know, it entices corruption, and, you know, obviously Plagueis sort of goes, well, he can sort of look at this in 20 years and go, oh, the Jedi are under the thumb of politics. So if I can weasel my way or an apprentice, Palpatine, into politics, and sort of we can control them.
Yeah.
We can create. It's big long-term story strides here. Which is fantastic, but yeah, almost scary. And you wonder how much of this sort of thing is. Well, I think we all know that it's kind of happening in some senses in real life. It's all over the, but we're not going to touch on that because we're talking about Star Wars. We won't get into global politics, but because that's a whole different ball game. And yeah,
life imitates art.
It does. Sometimes art imitates life.
Yeah.
It finds inspiration from life. I don't know if it's necessarily overly inspiring, but I don't know. It goes back to thinking about Balin's skull in Ahsoka, where he says, it repeats itself again and again. It's pretty wild. And it does. It happens. It's like real life.
Yep.
100%. You go through, 3 or 4 generations, and people, knowledge gets twisted and bended their own way, and governments sort of create, I don't know what you call it, education. They sort of determine how people are educated and what they learn, and
they dictate the narrative.
Yeah, exactly right. And we see that happening in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think of the Jedi? How does the Acolyte sort of change your outlook on the Jedi Order as a whole? Or does it sort of just grow on what you knew?
No, I mean, I've always, obviously the Jedi are the light, the good, but that they're not perfect beings. They're not, no one is perfect. Everyone is flawed. It doesn't matter if you sway towards, the good, or you sway towards the bad, the light, the dark. Everyone is flawed. No one is perfect, and no organization is 100% perfect. There's always going to be the bad seed there.
Yeah.
You go to the, you go with the dark. There's always somebody that's going to be pulled towards the light and there's always going to be somebody in the light that's pulled towards the dark.
Yeah.
I've always, inherently the Jedi are good. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's gonna, you're gonna have that where somebody just, lack of a better way, I'm trying to think it in my head, but you're always gonna have somebody that's gonna be, they're gonna let it take over. They're just gonna be like, okay, and you see it we've seen it through, the other media of Star Wars where dark side characters have turned to the light. But I don't. It hasn't changed my perspective on what the Jedi inherently are.
And what they stand for. Yeah. It just makes you rethink things like what is balance? Like, what is balance in the Force? And is it, with the Sith able to find that balance by bringing in the rule of 2 and having 2, and then by eliminating tens of thousands of Jedi and leaving 2, basically Yoda and Obi-Wan at the time of the original trilogy. Obviously, we know now that there were a few, I don't know, like Cal Kestis is out there running around, whether he ends up referring himself to a Jedi or something else, whether the Jedi need to evolve and become something else sort of post Rise of Skywalker. Like, I'm interested to see how Rey then goes and builds the Jedi Order without making the same mistakes again.
Right.
It needs to, obviously, for in universe, for the sanity, for the goodness of the Jedi, they need to evolve beyond an organization that is dictated by a council. Like you said, it's power within power within power.
Yeah.
The thing about the Acolyte is they're having to report to the High Council, and it's like, you should be able to just sort of be guided by the Force.
Yeah.
If Sol was able to find a little bit of balance between his emotions and the Force, things might have been a little bit different.
Right.
He kind of let his emotions take control and basically steered his ship
right
to dangerous territory by, not being able to save both the girls Whereas if we have, trusted in the living force, he may have had a little bit of extra time to sort of go, okay, I'm just gonna do what the force is basically guiding me to do and let it play out. And if it plays out in my favor, Mother Anastasia told him in that 7th episode, I was gonna let her go. I was gonna let her go. It could have been a peaceful transition, and it would have worked out a lot differently. A lot differently.
100%.
But yeah, I don't know, what is balance? Like, is it the Jedi now have to become, start their own sort of rule of two? Do they, to counteract, the potential rise in the darkness again? It's always going to be something that comes back. Whether, I don't know, does a religion like Jedi and Sith, do they evolve into something different? When a Jedi no longer Jedi, like I don't know, it's a strange one.
Yeah,
I think comprehend.
I've thought about this a lot, and I almost feel that for the balance to actually work, the Jedi, the Sith, both the orders kind of need to be dissolved, and they need to combine into one. And to live in balance, if you're balanced, you're not just to the light. You're not just to the dark. It's self-control over emotion. Yeah. I mean, none of us are, obviously we have, people who are they're gone. They're lost, and there are people that are very much towards the one side. Everybody has a little darkness in them, and for that to be balanced, you can't just, I'm completely light, I'm completely good, I'm because you're not. Everybody has a little bit in them, and if you don't acknowledge that, then kind of like Soul, he tried to take he tried to keep his emotions in check when he was with what was going on with Osha and May, and the fact that he couldn't save both, and that he felt that instant parental connection to those girls, especially Osha. But he couldn't control it, and he wasn't acknowledging that. He didn't, in my what I viewed, he wasn't. How do I put it? He didn't. Yeah. It's like he wasn't controlling his emotions enough to see that he may not be doing the right thing. Yeah. For lack of a better way of putting it, he seeing that he was letting his emotions take over. That he had that parental connection, and all he was seeing was, this is what I have, this connection, this is what I want to do. He wasn't seeing the broad picture. It was, and may have turned out that it was the Force's way of sort of saying, you and her are meant to be together as paternal master apprentice sort of thing, but the way he acted on that wasn't the way the Force intended. Right. So it's an interesting one. And like I was sort of saying with balance, like, how do you define balance? Like, there's balance in the Force, there's balance on a galactic scale, and then there's balance within the individual. We sort of get a little bit with Vader, obviously, eventually it causes, when he dies, obviously he sort of accepts that, yes, I am Anakin Skywalker, I also have this dark side Darth Vader, and we sort of get a similar thing with Kylo Ren, Ben Solo. We sort of find he finds that sort of balance within both. Got to accept that there is some darkness there and get on with it. Again, unfortunately, it ended with his death. Well, not really death. It's no one really dies in Star Wars. Transition to the Force becomes a higher power. Basically comes on with the Force, and that's, I don't really see that as death. It's so much put on the physical that we don't think of the spiritual as much. Right.
even in the real world.
Yeah.
We don't think about that enough, and there's definitely a lot to that. But where was I going with that? Yeah, balance. Like I said, scatterbrain.
I hear you.
Yeah, it's a tricky discussion to have on a Sunday night, and obviously for you, very early Sunday morning. So I don't know. It was just a cool chance to sit down and talk about what was cool,
Right.
in the Acolyte. It was just lots of cool stuff. I
All in
really
all, I
enjoyed
thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, got to see a Wookiee fight with a lightsaber on screen. Come on.
yeah, that was wild. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what's next. In terms of following this story up, but at the same time, like, Skeleton Crew is going to be a whole different beast altogether, and then Andor again. We're going to jump back into Andor, and it's like I said, like I was saying, so many different flavors you can sort of really pick and choose. And if you're not into something, you can go, oh, you know what, I'm not into it. I'll wait for the next thing, or I'll go back and rewatch that. And like I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were like, oh, I love the Acolyte, didn't really get into Ahsoka, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, no, I sort of got on to talking about Rebels, and they're like, oh, no, I didn't really watch Rebels, so really didn't have the emotional tie to those characters come time for Ahsoka, which is like, well, that's fair enough,
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in the Acolyte, there's nothing needed. You can walk in not knowing anything and sort of just jump in and go with it.
Right.
Like it's fresh, fertile ground, and you can do whatever you want with it, so...
And there's enough cool Easter eggs dropped in for all of us diehards that know everything.
Yeah. I mean, Darth Plagueis, even Yoda at the end, it didn't do much, but it was kind of like, okay, that sort of feels a little bit more like home.
Yeah.
You see Yoda. I don't know why they didn't go a little bit more with that. I don't know. One thing I noticed about the Jedi Temple is that obviously at some stage that thing gets redecorated like super often. Like I expected that Jedi Temple to look exactly the same as it did in the prequels.
Yeah, but it's very much different.
Very different, yeah. So I was kind of expecting when Venestra walked through the door at the end, I sort of thought, oh, she's going to walk into like the main council chambers that we're also familiar with, the window that goes all the way around. I thought,
all the chairs. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it wasn't that. So I don't know. Or whether Yoda was just in his own room, I'm not sure. Don't know.
Right. So is he, like I said, I haven't read, I'm getting ready to start the High Republic. I've got the books, just, life's been crazy. Is he the Grand Master at this point?
I can't remember. He's on the High Council. I think he is, but he's also out in the galaxy at this point.
Right.
In the High Republic, he's sort of out just running around doing stuff. They're not just sort of sitting there in their tower. So I don't. I'm not really recalling. I don't know whether they've actually touched on it, unless that's sort of just completely escaping me at the moment. But
right.
Yeah, I assume he'd be certainly a high rank. I've been up there for a long time, but. He does step down from the council to train Dooku at some point.
Right.
Within that sort of a 70, 80 year period between Acolyte and Phantom Menace.
So
Acolyte's at 100 years before the fall of the Empire.
Right.
And Phantom Menace is about 15 years before that. So yeah, it'd be 85 years.
Okay.
So
you started training Dooku. It's been a while since I read that book.
Yeah.
It's been.
So there's probably a good 20-odd year gap there, 15 to 20 year gap between the Acolyte and him taking on Dooku.
Right.
Apprentice. So I don't know. There's a lot of room there to fill, but it's cool.
I'm game for it.
Yeah. I don't know. While we're here, let's talk about some toys for a little minute.
All right.
That's something that doesn't require much thought and process.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This Kanan could be up there for Vintage Collection of the year.
Oh,
I don't
it's
know.
fantastic.
I did the lightsaber swap with the Rebels figure as well.
It works.
It looks so much better too. Like it just looks like a good size. It's chunkier. It looks nicer than that little turd of a thing that it came with. I don't know what the paint applications on the lightsaber were like for yours.
Mine's actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I just got a dodgy sample.
Look in here. Yeah, I mean it's definitely lighter once it gets onto the emitter, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go through my kid's old box of Star Wars figures and see. I don't have any of the 5 POA.
Okay.
But my kid did. So
yeah,
and he's got a box of stuff. I might have to go and snag it.
Yeah, you got the Ezra too.
Yep.
You did too.
Good, yeah. Got Zeb not too long ago. And
well, these
just
are
got
almost like two just really cool
oh,
figures
nice.
side by side. Like both Ezra's.
Yeah, those are. We need a season 1 Ezra badly in the 3 3/4.
Yeah. I hope there's one around the corner. Yeah, I was sort of putting together. I was sitting because I started rewatching Rebels again, just at night time, just put on a couple episodes, and I started putting together a little like a picture list of like characters from Rebels I'd love to see coming to TVC, just to really sort of round it out, like with the Ghost coming and all those characters as well. I'm like, yeah, there needs to be a season 1 Ezra with his, his little blaster lightsaber.
That lightsaber is so cool.
Who else was I thinking of? Agent Callus.
Yep.
Where were we? I've got some pictures saved. Yeah, Ahsoka from Rebels. I'd like to see this Kanan, but with the mask, like when he got blinded.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that'd be a cool repack, or put it in a 2-pack with Maul or something. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely need that.
Yeah. I want that version of Sabine. That's season 2 Sabine. That chopper, like you could repaint that.
Yeah. Oh, that's an easy repaint.
And even then, like you could do if you do a season 1 Ezra, and you get Kanan, you can just pop the head and put him on a stormtrooper head.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you've got Kanan, and you could get Ezra. Oh, you could do this Ezra, but put him on a biker scout. And you could have him in. He's sort of with his biker scout. I don't know.
Yep.
So many options. Yeah,
I mean,
Callum. Yeah,
it'd be in the vintage collection scale. Let's get a Bendu.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a little big, but I mean, it's not like they. I mean, the from Phantom Menace, he did a review on it not too long ago. The fish,
Yeah.
The Bendu's not gonna. I mean, it's going to be bigger, but not too much bigger.
Yeah. Did you see the custom figure someone did of the Bendu? I can't remember if they did it. I think they did it in Black Series.
The Black Series scale, yeah.
But I think they just sort of sculpted over a King Kong.
Oh, is that what it was?
Like a NECA King Kong figure, because it's basically, the big arms in front.
Right.
You could crouch it down a little bit. I'm just trying to find it. I can't think for the life of me who it was. But yeah, if I find it, I'll. Was that it?
Well, did you see
someone's done this as a kit?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which looks cool.
That would be freaking awesome. Make it $250.
Yeah. Just do it.
Could do. Yeah, like they did with the Palace set. Just do it as a. They not a HasLab, but how they did it. It was kind of an order type thing.
Fan channel sort of. Yeah.
I'd be all over that. Definitely need a Rebels Mall in the vintage collection.
Yeah.
Give them the hood, give them the cane.
Pretty well served. Like Black Series has been pretty well served with Rebels.
Yeah, for sure.
as much as I want another, I'd like a better Inquisitor head.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I like that they brought him to life, I just think he couldn't have thought about that for another like 5 or 10 minutes in a meeting and gone, no, we kind of did the same thing in Revenge of the Sith with one of these guys. Like,
Yeah.
can't
Well,
just
and
put a
even in
ball.
Jedi Survivor, the senator.
Yes, yeah.
How is the Grand Inquisitor so much different than that?
Mm,
I mean, the figures are great,
yeah,
but a little bit elongated head would have been gone a long way for all of us, I think.
yeah. Now, a character like the Big Brother, who's an alien, you can kind of go, oh, yeah, maybe maybe you got a little bit of wiggle room there to sort of change that design. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was just a little bit too much, change. But yeah, it's a picky little thing.
Right. Did you go into another animated? But did you see Yak Face's leak?
Yeah, yeah, man. Mr. Savage Press coming to Black Series.
And Caesar.
Yeah, Shizor as well. Yeah, No, I was gonna put a little story up, but I'm like, nah, I'd rather see some official photos. Like, it's cool that it's coming.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to see some like official stuff.
Yep. So that's
Savage.
That's going to be another Malgus. I'm just looking at what's there. I feel like it's going to be another Malgus.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Hey, Roman, how are you, mate? Good to hear from you. Yeah, I'm okay with Savage Press being deluxe. Like, because he's going to be like, I don't know, I'm just sort of looking like he's going to be like Wookiee height.
Yeah,
like he's got to be like Wookiee height. Like Chrysanthemum. Like, I think he'd be taller than Chrysanthemum even.
Yeah, I would think so.
One? Yeah.
The picture that it had, I was kind of looking at it compared to the Pre-Vizsla that was next to him. And he does look like he's going to have that, like you said, the Chewie height, the Malgus height. Yeah. Maybe not quite as big as Malgus, but Malik would work.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the picture now. Yeah, because even we're standing like shoulder to shoulder next to Shizor, but you look at his legs.
Yeah,
and
he's quite tall.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know. I can't pick who that is next to it. Like whether that's a Joe, like a G.I. Joe, or a Marvel.
That almost looks like. Is that? One second. Let me look here. I think I might.
Yes, there's a few. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I was gonna. I was thinking the from Shang-Chi, but it's not. It's not one of the ones that I thought it was. It could be a Joe.
Yeah. It looks like an older figure because it's got pins in the elbows.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that
it could just be laying around with some junk. But yeah, I'm not really picking anything else. Someone else. Oh, who did it? It was Zach from Star Wars Black Series Cantina. I think you might have put it up in the group on Facebook. I'm going to try to bring that up. Black Series Cantina. There we are. Yeah, it's a bit of a wider photo. Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I want to see if it's Joe.
So there's Hu Yang. There's, a couple of ravens on the side there, like the birds. I think they came with the Thor figure. I think they came with the Thor. So it could be a legend. It's like one of the Shriek-Hawk Mandalorians.
Right.
And obviously Tatooine Luke, which I can't wait for. I'm so pumped for a new, some fresh New Hope figures from both scales. We're getting both scales, so that's awesome. Like that new layer. Have you got the new layer in vintage?
Not yet. I haven't I haven't seen her anywhere yet, but that's definitely what I want to pick up.
And obviously new Luke and Han. I think they've said all three are going to come out in Black Series, which is awesome.
We need a new Han. I've got the first release of Han, and I've been wanting to use it for a picture with Chewie, and I'm like, this thing is garbage. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's definitely aged. But I don't know. Hopefully get to see some cool stuff at SDCC.
Yeah, when is that? Is that
this weekend?
Is it this coming weekend?
I think so. Yeah.
Nice.
I thought it was this one. I thought it was this weekend, but I think it's next.
Okay.
But
that'll be. I did get notification last night that my TBC Rex will be here tomorrow.
Awesome.
I can't wait for that.
I picked up this one today.
Nice.
The Enoch.
Gonna need that one.
I'd love to get multiples and have a few extra Stormtroopers, but this is down here. These are $129. Probably around about the $80 mark US.
Yeah, I think they're around 80 here or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
relative, but
right. Yeah, I'm kind of chilling out on buying right now with Christmas and everything coming up. I got to start okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
The wife's like, you got to let me get some stuff here.
Yeah. But it's not because I got this one a couple of weeks ago as well.
Nice.
And that one's sick. It's nice that these packs are sort of being able to be made for us down here in Australia. Like it's only like the last few packs, like the Tusken Raider pack, we've missed out on. Get it on Amazon. It still ends up being. I'll probably end up being 110, which at some stage I may bite the bullet and grab it. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just bought the Wolverine from the new.
Still trying to find those.
Yeah,
I haven't got that yet, but
I've got the Deadpool from a couple of years ago, and he's still. I think the new one that's just come out's the same, but I just saw a leak of the new Wolverine from the new movie with the yellow suit.
Yeah,
I was like, that one will be coming home.
Oh yeah.
I don't do much Marvel Legends stuff anymore, but for that one, I'll make an exception.
Yeah, those and that Carnage. I got to get that. It's sitting in my cart on Amazon, and I'm like, I gotta bite. I'm gonna bite the bullet before too long here.
Yeah, you just sit there one night and just hit check out and just throw the phone away and go, whoops.
It's gonna happen because I got to get it before it skyrockets in price, and I've got the Venom from the first movie, and it's just I've got it standing with the Absolute Carnage where he's got the two heads with the swirl on his head. I've got it with that one, and I'm like, I need something more accurate to the. They look weird being a comic version and a movie version. They just kind of look weird next to each other.
Yeah, even though the movie wasn't fantastic, it was still cool to see Carnage on screen and to have those figures sitting next to each other. Like, I know they've just put out, and they're going to put out the same. I think it's pretty much the same Venom, but he's got the extra sort of heads that stick out the back. I'm like, what? I don't need that one. I can.
I say I don't, but if I see it, I mean this whole arm is all Spider-Man. So, like, next to Star Wars, that's my Spider-Man's my second love. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get it if I see it. I just oops, it fell into the cart.
It happens to the best of us. We're only human.
I mean, and when it comes to like Venom, Carnage, Spider-Man, all that, like I know that those movies are terrible. I know they are, but I love them.
They're still fun to watch. Yeah.
Exactly. They look amazing. It's, okay, he doesn't have the spider on his chest. It's still freaking Venom going around eating people, and just it's still fun. And I know story-wise they're not good.
Yeah, like even Morbius, like it wasn't a good movie, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. And
I still haven't watched it
for Craven when Craven comes out. I think that's still coming out this year. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, Craven. To me, Craven looks amazing. And like I haven't watched Morbius yet. I hear all the negative. They're like, you don't want to watch. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah.
But it's still, to me, it's like it's still fun. It's a fun ride. It's the whole, like with Star Wars, with everybody complaining, and and I know it's just a loud minority. It's a vocal minority, but with the sequels, they're not perfect at all. But I can pick out any of those movies. I can pick out stuff that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And it's still fun for me to watch them. I mean, Kylo Ren, Ben Skywalker, is one of the best characters in the saga, in the franchise. His complexity, people are like, oh, he's in terrible movies, he blah blah blah. Adam Driver played that character flawlessly. He gave such life to that character, and I'm not apologizing for the the flaws and the bad storytelling, or the lack of vision for the sequels, but there's still a lot of fun in it. There's still a lot of
there's more good to take out of it than bad.
Yeah, and they're beautiful.
And at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and if you're entertained, then awesome. That's all that matters, really.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know, with Morbius, because once they're done Venom 2, then Morbius. At the end of Morbius, the only thing I was left thinking was like, what's missing from these movies? Freaking Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And I think if they do too many more without trying to find a way to bring a Spider-Man in, they're not going to last. Like, I think Craven needs to do something else. Like, it needs to do that just that little bit more.
Yeah.
And how Sony decide to go with that, like doing their own sort of Spider-Verse. Like, do you pull in Andrew Garfield and go, you know what, we're doing it. We're going to continue our amazing Spider-Verse with these movies. And that's what it is.
100%. That's what it needs to do.
I think it's a no-brainer. And it's like, Marvel, Tom Holland is yours. We still want our cut, but we're going to do our own thing.
Yep.
And just go for it.
No disrespect to Tobey Maguire, but Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland as well. Sorry, Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man.
He's my favorite. Yeah, he's my the suit in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, probably not the best movie, but it's the best suit.
It is hands down the best suit. When they when they first showed it they started the promotional for it. I was like, God, they finally got it right.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the first three. When the first Spider-Man movie came out, I was through the roof. I was, I lived with a couple buddies of mine, and they got sick of hearing about it. They got sick of seeing it. I was buying anything and everything I could find with it, because we were finally getting Spider-Man in a movie, in live action. My biggest complaint through all three of those movies, even more so than how bad 3 was, the suit. They should have, from day one, should have taken inspiration. That's my opinion. The Todd McFarlane Spider-Man design is the best design, hands down.
Yeah.
The eyes, everything.
Yeah. That's why I was so stoked when they finally, because when they did that 3-pack for No Way Home, I was like, oh man, that was going to be way too expensive. No one released it here in Australia. And then they did the 3 individuals with the heads, and it was just like, thank you.
Yep.
My only real gripe is they didn't include all the hands.
Yeah.
Couldn't have wall crawling Spidey. You had to have one fist and one thwip, and it was just like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, throw us a bone.
Yep. Yeah, that's the only one I got from the 3, was when they put that, because the first, I mean, and I want to say it was Yeah, one of the first Marvel Legends that they put out once Hasbro took over. I think it was in that first wave. Was that Amazing Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man? Looking at it now, I actually had to. Both of those, the Andrew Garfield one they just released, and then the original one took a shelf dive a couple days ago. I walked down here yesterday, and I'm like, they're both on the ground. But I picked that original Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure up.
That was the one that came out with Electro, like Jamie Foxx Electro.
Yes. Yep.
And it was a Green Goblin Build-A-Figure from...
Yep. The Ultimate Goblin.
Yes. Ultimate Goblin, that's right, yeah.
Yep. That figure is garbage.
Doesn't hold up.
No, not at all. The new one's good. It just seems just a little small.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. Need more hands.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I can't think of anything else to talk about toy wise. But yeah, I'm excited to do some more live streams again like I used to do. So yeah, we'll definitely have some more toy talk and do it all again. There's always love talking toys, and everyone else likes talking toys. And I don't know that the chat tonight has been a little bit, well, it's been virtually non-existent. It is what it is.
6:30 on a Sunday morning, and over here a lot of people are still sleeping.
Yeah,
I had my alarm set, but I was already up anyway.
Yeah, and over here it's 9 p.m. and everyone's just dreading going to work tomorrow. So, Saturday nights, I'll get back on the Saturday night wagon at some point in the coming weeks. Come back with some cool Star Wars toy talk and just general chit chat. So that's always good fun.
Right on.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to bounce. Thank you. If you're watching back later, I do appreciate it. If you have been sort of jumping into the chat and watching it live, thank you. Appreciate your time and coming and hanging out while we talk about Star Wars. And yeah, well, stay tuned. I've got some videos to do this week, some more reviews. So I'll try and get back into doing some more reviews this week. Like I said, it's been a tough couple of weeks, but we're getting back into it. And yeah, just gotta keep on pushing on. Keep on pushing on. It's the way to go. All right, folks. May the force be with you always.